Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Coffee and Conversation, June Coffee and Conversation. Today, we have an amazing speaker. I am so excited to introduce Kevin a little bit later. Kevin Bassett, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. I just met Kevin a couple months ago, and I am so happy that he was able to join us for today's Coffee and Conversation, and he's going to share some knowledge, and we'll get back to Kevin, introduction to Kevin in a minute. But thank you everyone for joining us. RJ, if you want to take off, Aaron.
You want me to take off or
take off with the show? Let's take off with the show.
With you, I never know what you want me to do. So yes, welcome everybody to our June Coffee and Conversation. Everybody have your coffee? Yeah, mine's extra large.
Water.
Cheers to that. Mine is
Cheers to
water
that.
also. Who drinks coffee at 11:30 in the morning?
This guy, right?
Oh yeah, all day.
All right, good deal.
Midnight just before I go to bed.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, welcome everybody, and we have our ISSA residential, I guess, chairwoman, Jeannie Henderson. She is here. So welcome, Jeannie. And would you like to introduce the rest of the committee and then the regional ambassadors, please?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks so much. I'm so glad I was able to be here. My schedule changed, so I was able to make it and hate missing these. So hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Welcome. And if I haven't met you yet, I am the ISSA Residential Council Chair. Our Vice Chair is here. That is Stacy Conkle. I see Stacy there. She's always on the move.
Hi.
Hi, Stacy. And I also see Beth Derrickson is here. She's another council member. So Stacy is our liaison between the council and our ISSA residential ambassadors. And then Beth Derrickson serves on our education committee. So she helps out with those events as well. So thank you to those people. Many of our council members are already starting summer vacations, and Bruce Vance sends his apologies. He couldn't be here because he's teaching today. So, but our council is here to help you. And then we have several ambassadors here. Let's see. I see Marlo, Knipe, and TJ Frusciante is here. Let's see. Who else?
James Menzies is here.
Oh, James is here. Hi, James.
Trying to look, it's hard to have to go through multiple screens. We have a lot of people on here today.
Yeah,
So
I know. Yeah.
so happy to see so many people. I love it.
Yeah, it's great. And then I did have a couple of announcements. One announcement is watch for an invitation to a free webinar that I'm hosting coming up, working with the ISSA charities and Cleaning for a Reason. How many of you are Cleaning for a Reason partners? Raise your hands. Awesome. Thank you so much for partnering. So I'm hosting a webinar called Partnering for Progress. And this is all about how to leverage relationships to grow your cleaning business. So I'll drop that link in the chat so you can register for that. And then also want to invite everyone to attend our member orientation event that happens on the 4th Thursday of the month. Is that right, Stacy? 4th Thursday? Yes, 4th Thursday of the month. Every month, our ambassadors and our council members are hosting this member orientation to help you become familiar with all the ways that you can take advantage of your ISSA membership and take advantage of the benefits. So this is for you if you are just joining ISSA or if you've been with ISSA for a while. So,
And let me throw this out there as we talk about that. The member orientation is a great way to find out about your membership. Like Jeannie said, whether you're an existing member or a new member, if you are not able to make the membership orientation, I see Heather Ghostwitch is on here and I am on here and Stacy Stiglich. We are your ISSA team and are here to help you with anything that you need from, we can put you in contact with the right person to take advantage of some benefits, to find out about what education we offer. So please reach out to us. And if you're not a member, the question is, why not? But I think you're here today, so hopefully you learn a little bit more about us.
And
Yes.
Aaron, also, we have another webinar coming up about the insurance benefits, correct?
We do. On June 17th, there is a free webinar about and I'll put that link in the chat here in just a second. We offer like a healthcare package at ISSA where you can kind of pull and offer your employee benefit. It offers employee benefits. It's healthcare. There's a 401k package. There's student loan repayment. There's a whole lot of different packages that you can pick and choose from. And they can come to you in an affordable price on a monthly basis. So you can offer that as an employee benefit. That is June 17th. And that is a free webinar for all. So you can come and learn about it. And then we have another series of webinars, June 19th and June 26th, about the labor laws. We're going to do one is focused on federal labor laws and one is focused on state. So I'll put a link into the chat as well. John Nodurft and our government affairs team is putting that together.
Oh, that's
Awesome,
amazing.
thank you.
All these amazing webinars and education for all of our members. That's
We have
incredible.
another one coming up, Gosha. Where's it at? Where's it at?
Yes, so there is still time. I believe, Erin, we have 2 spots left, correct?
Actually, I realize we have about 4, so we
spots
got a
left.
little bit of room. So if anybody wants to
Okay,
come,
okay, yes, I would love to invite everyone personally right now to my office. We have a ISSA regional event this Sunday in my office in the suburbs of Chicago. And we have amazing speakers. We're going to have Dr. Gavin speaking on cleaning for health. We have Ricky Regalado speaking on and RJ, how to introduce commercial cleaning into your residential business. Then I have my team actually speaking on creating a culture and how to get 900 reviews and how to have an amazing culture. Then we have Troy or Alan is speaking on AI, right, Troy?
Yeah,
One of
Alvin will be there on Sunday,
Alvin.
giving a brief topic on AI as well, covering that.
Right, so we have Alvin, and then we have Renee O'Brien. Many of you probably know Renee. She's coming. She will be speaking on customer service, I believe. So, so we have incredible lineup. I would love to see 4 more people in my office, and of course, a private tour of my office and how we operate. You will have a chance to speak to my team, our trainers, and how they train our staff. We are between the residential and commercial. We are at about 80 people here. So you will have a chance to speak to the commercial team, the residential team, the trainers, how we train, and all that stuff. So, and then on Monday, as a huge bonus, we have all day dedicated to AI. AI is the new thing. How does it work? How can AI help us? We don't know. I mean, it's mind blowing, right? So we have Troy, right? Troy, Alvin.
And Tom will be there as well.
Tom will be here all day speaking on AI. So, I mean, amazing.
coming for the regional event, and Made Central is one of our sponsors for our regional event on Sunday, and they're offering this, and it's all about AI. It's not. It is just diving into how it can save you time, how it can save you money. You know, it's
Marketing.
It is.
Hiring. Yes. All right.
The other cool thing too is I've had a sneak peek at some of what Alvin's going to be showing, and at the end of the day, he's going to show us how to build a chat bot and some actual practical applications we can take back and start implementing. So it's not going to just be theory, and again, that's open to everyone. Not just Made Central partners, so anyone can participate in that.
I have put a link to that in the chat as well. So if you're interested in the regional event attending on Sunday, which is, I cannot believe it's just a few days away. And then we have Monday. ISSA is also sponsoring the business growth strategies. It is designed for commercial companies, residential companies, restoration, and it is designed to just help you. How do you grow your business? So I can put a link to that in the chat as well, because there's a lot of good. We're having this big conference at the ISSA headquarters. If you haven't been there, it's a nice facility.
Wonderful.
So one of the reasons we do this is to keep our cleaning community connected to everybody. And if you didn't know that Heather and Aaron are the two people that are directly connected with the ISSA. They work for the ISSA. So Heather, would you say a few words on what you do? And then Aaron, can you post in the chat how we can reach out to you too?
Absolutely.
Yeah, Heather, go ahead.
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Goswidge. Sorry you got me in my workout gear this afternoon, but I'm here for you. I am recently promoted to the Associate Director of Global Membership here at ISSA. I have an 8-year tenure here, started off in marketing and communications, and now moving into membership and operations. So I'm very excited to see how many people are here on the call. Happy to help you in any way possible. One of my team members, Stacy, is here. She's kind of in charge of onboarding any new members in the residential community. Thanks, Stacy. So we work hand in hand to make sure that your experience with the association is a good one. And Aaron, I'll pass it off to you, but Aaron is in charge of all of the wonderful education and getting that out to all of you and setting it all up. I'll pass it to you.
I will actually, I'm a little farther than you, Heather. I will have my 10-year anniversary this summer with ARCSI/ISSA Residential. And I worked with the residential community since I started. Last year, I moved into the education team, so I still work with residential on all of our education, but you work with on our membership benefits with Heather and Stacy. So you're well supported here. And I'm putting our emails in the chat right now so that if you want to get in touch with any of us, if you have any questions about education, membership, benefits, anything we can help you with, that's what we're here for. And with that, I think we've got a lot to get to today, Gosha.
Yes, yes, yes. I would love to. Cannot wait for Kevin to take off with his talk today. Kevin, it's an honor to have you here.
Thanks.
Everyone, welcome Kevin Bassett. Kevin is the owner of Bassett and Associates, a full-service public accounting firm. Bassett and Associates provides innovative financial and tax strategies for closely held businesses. Kevin spent most of his career with Ernst & Young before starting his own firm. Through the firm's virtual CFO processes, Kevin assists his clients with business planning, cash flow, profitability analysis, tax planning, and tax return preparation. Kevin is the creator of the tax minimization process, the virtual CFO advantage, and so much more. There's so much more about you, but Kevin, please, the floor is yours.
Sure, my pleasure. Well, thanks for having me. I met Gosha at an event, I don't know, what was that, April? That was good. It's great to meet everybody there. So as she mentioned, our firm, so we're a nationwide firm, meaning that we serve clients nationwide. I happen to live in North Carolina now, as does some of the team, but the majority of our clients are in the service industry, service-related clients, and we do have some larger commercial cleaners. But what we do, our goal is to help our clients make more and keep more, right? Make as much money as possible by using smart financial techniques, and then keep more with good tax planning, and help them be as profitable as possible, get the business owners to be financially independent. And as they scale those companies, which means, grow with profitability, some choose to keep them forever and moved a bit more of a passive role, and then some choose to do an exit to private equity, and we've done several hundred of those. So I want to talk about that, but plenty of time for questions anytime you have them, because some of what I say, I assume you'll have questions on or be surprised. But the key to scaling a service company is to grow with profitable revenue. And in my opinion, the easiest way to do that financially is to do a technique called manage by margin. And that means for every additional dollar of revenue, you want a certain amount of dollars dropping to the bottom line, to the owner's family. And in a service industry like yours, and we've got large commercial cleaners, the goal at different stages of that business is to get that bottom line margin, the revenue to you at 20%, which is hard to do. So depending where you guys are in that journey of scaling your business, 20% at certain parts of the business is actually impossible. right? So when you first start out, how many of you started out where you were actually out doing the cleaning, providing the service? A bunch. Yeah, and same with me, right? When I started, it was out of the house. I was basically sitting in a room, listening to 80s tunes, banging out tax returns with a helper. So then your margins are really high, right? Because you don't have labor. But then what happens with that first expensive hire? You're working your tail off, selling work to try to keep them busy and cover their payroll, and your margin drops. And in fact, sometimes you go into something called no man's land where expenses temporarily are more than your revenue. So that's called no man's land. That's no fun. And then you scale a bit, margins come up, and then you do some more expensive hires, it goes down, and it's a cycle you go on. But with a service company, by the time you hit 5 million, you should be able to drop 20% to the bottom line then, and then again at 10 million. But is anybody between 1 and 2 million right now in top line revenue? Is anybody at that stage? All right, my guess is if you're not the one out doing the cleaning, that your margin is less than 20% right now, would be my guess. The reason is that's that 1 to 2 million, we kind of call it the tweener stage, right? You're in between self-employment, a small company, and getting some scale, right? And it's really that stage is one of the toughest. So the good news is it gets a lot better when you pass it. So the key is to go from self-employment to a business, and scale means you're growing with profit with the goal of getting 20%. Is there any questions on that first concept? Okay. All right, now here's the other one that always gets a reaction. To pull off 20% consistently at different stages of your business, here's the really hard one. Your goal needs to be to get your all-in labor costs, everything, whether it's an employee, a subcontractor, whether client service or out in the field, but to try to get that labor cost down as close to 50% of revenue as possible. So imagine there's some pretty violent reactions right now. So this is usually what gets folks concerned, because at certain stage of the business, like I said, if you're at 1.5 million, this is probably impossible. Your labor costs are probably closer to 60%. Does anybody ring true for anybody? So,
Kevin, you said the labor cost should be 50% or less. Are you talking about loaded?
fully loaded, all in field and admin. Now, and I want to emphasize certain revenue levels, this is impossible, right? Cannot be done. What I'm saying is you hit the 5 million mark, you want to, your goal is you hit these different stages is to try to drive that labor cost down. Grow the revenue, number one, and maintain labor costs. Who here right now is above 50%? I imagine most of the hands, right? Or if you're not, you guys are all geniuses. It's really hard. Yep. So it's different stage of the business. This is really hard. But if you're right at 5 million, it's very doable. If you're right at 10 million, it's doable. But between 1 and 2, it's going to be extremely difficult unless you're out in the field doing some of the work, right? Because we're not counting the owner's cost at all here. We're talking about anybody but the owner or their family. So it's hard, fully loaded, particularly in times like now with a tight labor market. And so your two ways to go through that is grow revenue and manage labor. So here's the secret of a service company, running a service company, is we basically have two numbers to manage: revenue and labor. If you get those two things right, the rest is significantly easier. Yeah, you have other overhead like occupancy costs and supplies and marketing, advertising, IT, etc. But those are easier to manage and they're smaller numbers. And yeah, sometimes you see people make mistakes where they're buying or renting an office space that they simply don't need, too nice for what they need. Sometimes that happens, but more commonly the issue is managing that labor. It's by far the hardest. So what I recommend is everybody do like a Monday meeting where you and your team look at numbers. Hopefully, yeah, we do that. And we do open book accounting, so my team sees everything. But what you want is most of your KPIs, your key performance indicators on your dashboard, to be revenue related and labor related, right? Manage those. So revenue, you're measuring from leads into closed sales, et cetera, how many new clients a month you're getting. But on labor, you need to manage things like revenue per full-time equivalent. AHR is a big one, which stands for average hourly rate. How much revenue per every hour you're paying, no matter what, how much revenue you're getting per hour paid, whether they're in the field or in the office. So those are two examples of labor KPIs, managing that. So this is the toughest part of running a service company, managing labor. But any questions on that part?
Somebody had a question in chat. Jeannie, would you like to share your
Yep.
question?
Great question. So someone
Yeah,
asked
so-
here.
Yeah,
Go
about
ahead.
adding where is your administrative labor on your income statement?
Yep. So it's usually it's below the line, but when I'm talking about managing labor to 50%, I mean everything. And here's why. In the old days, if we went back to the 1980s, the old ways of cost accounting, you're breaking out variable, direct labor and admin labor separately. And that was the old accounting. But there's been a transformation really in the last 20 plus years where they're looking at all labor because they're finding if you have solid back office admin team, it makes your field labor a lot more efficient. They're keeping higher utilized. That's another KPI we use. What's our utilization for dollars paid in the field? And some folks, if it's might be just paying by the job, right? And it's 100%. So the most successful service companies look at all labor in that labor margin and don't differentiate. And when I got, I'm in a service business that has higher margins than yours. We were able to drive ours up about 10 points by focusing on a great client service team. It kept our producers, in our case, accountants, better utilized, right? So looking at that one labor number is really the key to a service company. Don't do the old ways from the 1980s and worry about what's where. Look at your total yield on labor. Great question. Yep, 50% is tough. So am I hearing everybody hears at 50%? I really doubt it.
Yeah, when you add admin in, I'm way over that. So
You're right, way over. And it is hard, and that is common, independent of what your revenue level's at. At certain stages of the journey, 50% is impossible. So you want to know that. But I'm telling you the goal is get it down as close to 50 as possible. And the other thing is the danger zone is if it creeps above 60, right? So you want to be in the 50s, right? And tough years, you might be at 58%, but then if you can drive it down, when you get into the low 50s, that's how you can start dropping 20 points to the bottom line. If you're above 60, it's a danger zone. So there's a thing, it's a little less common than it used to be, but when folks are scaling and growing fast and they get super busy and a little bit of chaos is going on, it's a very common reaction to throw bodies at it. Oh my gosh, I need to hire this, I need to hire that. And that can, a couple things happen. One, your labor costs go up just because you have more bodies. And number two, your labor may not be as efficient. You might not be getting as much yield. So that's one common thing. Another one is all of us, if we're on this Zoom, we're reading a lot, we're going to seminars, we're really working on our business owner education. And you hear certain things. Who here is doing EOS? Anybody? Right. It's awesome, right? And I'm personal friends with Gino Wickman. It's fantastic. So we do that, right? We're going to do some EOS. We need awesome people in our L10 meetings. But sometimes maybe we hire key leadership people a little bit early, right? And that drives our labor costs above 60. So hiring ahead. So one thing I often tell the business owners is remember to put your oxygen mask on first. If you're managing by margin, you're protecting that bottom line. And as a service company, your bottom line margin should never be less than 10%. That's actually very dangerous and very vulnerable. In fact, you want to get it up to 20. So sometimes it's a matter of giving yourself permission to make some freaking money in your business, right? So get the yield and make sure your bottom line never drops below 10%. And that's what I mean by that, that's your operating income before the business owner takes a dime, whether that's through wages, distribution, benefits, automobile, etc. So, but good question. Any other on that? Yep. Someone said also over, I think 60. Yep. So 60 is a danger zone. You want to look at it, but there's two ways, right, to grow out of it. You grow your revenue or you cut your labor. I prefer to grow the revenue, and imagine everyone on here is in the process of trying to scale. Yep. Any other questions on the labor? Okay. So it's super important, and please fire away with questions. Again, what I want to emphasize is you got two numbers to work on, revenue and labor.
Kevin, earlier you said if you're under 2 million and you're over 50%, it's okay. So where should
Yeah.
it, what would be a okay number we can all say, oh, okay, I'm not in
Yep.
a danger zone, but I'm okay.
Yep. Okay. So when you're below 2 million, you will, unless you're doing the work, you will not be at 50%. So then the key is to keep labor below 60. And the reason you want to watch that number is that protects you from hiring ahead. So Janine just put in that points out that yes, EOS is really for companies over 2 million. That is absolutely right. So I had a client come in, referred, and normally a little smaller than we'd work with, but they were working with a business coach I work with. So it was like, yep, cool, join the Bassett team. And they were not yet at 2 million, and they were about to make an expensive leadership hire. And I'm glad they brought it up, right? Because they were reading EOS. They read, and someone asked, hey, what's EOS? It comes from the book Traction by Gino Wickman. And then he's also written follow-up books called Rocket Fuel and what the heck is EOS, etc. And it stands for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And it is awesome. It helps run the backstage. And I always tell folks, if the secret sauce to scaling a service company is go out there, be reading like crazy, get business coaching. And really, I think it takes two. It takes a high level business coach for general business like EOS or something like that. And then industry specific knowledge, maybe an industry specific coach. And those two things combined are really the secret sauce to scale profitably. But anyway, so this particular client had not quite hit 2 million. They were about to make a expensive leadership hire. And I pointed out, hey, you're just a little bit early, right? Your head's in the right place. You're just a little early. And it would have popped their labor margin well above 60%. And they would have been throwing an expensive body at it a little too early. And by the way, that leader they hired, they probably would have gotten in and been like, hey, this is too small for my skill set. And it probably wouldn't have worked out anyway. So I was like, hey, with the rate you're growing, just hang on for another 18 months and you'll be there. But that's a good question. So if you're less than 2 mil, key is keep that labor below 60, and that'll keep your net margin above 10 and keep your business in a much safer place. Thanks for that question. Yep. So is anybody's head spinning right now going, holy crap, how do I get this 50%? And the whole point of me bringing it up and why it gets a reaction is your eyes and ears will only pick up what your brain is looking for. So now that that's in your head, that can be kind of that big question that you can obsess about. And hey, if you get to 52%, you're probably dropping 20 points to the bottom line when you're at 5 million. So just let your brain work on that and be looking at it and be thinking and design your KPIs about the yield on labor. And don't worry, it's a very tight labor market right now. Most people aren't at 50.0, right? But the good ones are in very low 50s. And the other thing, right, is business is always work in progress, right? We've always got to be students of business and working on it. And I had a pretty good sized commercial cleaning company out in California. And he had great growth during COVID. He's 100% commercial. And he got north of 10 million. He really scaled the heck out of this and grew faster than he could hire, which was great. So his labor margin, even in California, where it's a high cost area, he got it down to just under 52%. And he hit 22.5% on net bottom line in 2021. Like, holy cow. In 2020, he did not. He had to buy a whole bunch of that safety stuff, the new COVID protocols. Right. So he took a little hit there, but he got a ton of work and cleaning work. And man, he killed it in 2021. I mean, can you imagine 22.5% of the bottom line? Holy smokes. He was swimming in cash. However, then he's reading EOS and all this stuff. And he hired a bunch of expensive bodies that didn't improve his revenue and efficiencies and all that. Then he lost that margins. Labor popped back up to like 60, and his profitability went way down by the second half of 2022, right? So and he was locked into those those contracts, those commercial contracts. His revenue wasn't moving, and the new leadership team wasn't increasing the revenue. So the net result was less profit, right? So you gotta always watch it. So our he skipped a couple quarterly meetings, so I wouldn't yell at him. And but so anyway, it took him about 9 months to get back to where he needed to be. So and all of us, you know, just remember that all of this is a journey. So
Yeah. Kevin, we have a question. The question is, owner can take salary or dividends. So the 50% is without any salary and dividends. What if the owner is involved owner, not absentee owner?
Yep. So this is a great question. And sometimes there's a few opinions. So the way we set up our clients and their P&Ls is everything owner related is below the line. So if you are on, who here is on a QuickBooks product? Yep. So if you are, anything owner related, which is the owner's wage, the owner's payroll taxes, the owner's car, owner's retirement, health insurance, whatever the owner's paying, which I love that. I'll talk about pre-taxing your lifestyle, the tax stuff in a minute. All of that we put below the line. And the way you do that in QuickBooks is you code all of those in your chart of accounts as other expense, right? It's in the drop-down menu, as opposed to all the other ones are either cost of goods sold or just expense, not other expense. And so what that does, if you're on QuickBooks Online, that'll give you a clean number called net operating income, right? And then all the owners is below, stuff is below. And this is the P&L we're talking about. If you're on QuickBooks Desktop, they call it net ordinary income for whatever reason. And then the owner stuff is below. And I have my P&L set up where I've got my revenues, you know, a handful of lines, and I got my labor and then my other costs separate. And I just manage it that way. So all this owner stuff, back to this question, if you guys are an S Corp, who's an S Corp? Hopefully most of you are, because it's most tax efficient. You've got to take a reasonable wage. And you know, if you're a good sized company, you might have to take that wage up to 100 grand. That's where I've got mine at 120. And the rest I take is S distributions, which is not on the P&L. But this 50% to the question here, the 50% labor is with no owner expense. That's my personal opinion, the opinion of private equity and some other ones. But you're like, hey, wait, what if I'm actually doing work? Well, we still exclude it because the whole purpose of the business is to create profit, you know, income for the owner. And whether you're doing some field work, or you're working on the business or a little bit in the business, that's up to you. But again, what I'm concerned about is how much are my clients making, and how you allocate time. That's a personal decision. I do 2 days a week of in the business and 2 days a week of on the business, and take 3 days off. Of course, in the early days, I just worked all the time, but that's where I'm at now. Yep. But hope that answers your question.
So when you're working in the business, what does that look like when it comes to accounting?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a cool thing, right? This is a personal decision. So I don't do accounting anymore. I haven't done a tax return in over 10 years, including my own. But what I love, my passion, is the world of business. So all I do on Mondays and Wednesdays is talk to clients, right? I do client virtual CFO meetings for my gold and above clients and some of my silvers. And I could not be happier, right? I get to talk to entrepreneurs, you know, all day, 2 days a week. And my assistant's job is get them back to back. It's awesome. And then on Tuesday, Thursdays, like today, I rolled in here around, 11 o'clock and met with my bookkeeper real quick, make sure revenue was cool and what bank was at. And then I'll go and talk to the youngsters and try to give them a pep talk or disturb them a little bit. So on the business Tuesday, Thursdays, and I'll meet with my assistant later and go over, she does my email, but there'll be some of those. So that's kind of on my business. And then this here, coffee and conversation, the fun stuff. So that's how I choose to spend my time. Now I've got a good lawyer friend. He's banging down probably $3 million a year. He loves doing some legal work and he's doing client meetings and all that. And that's his choice. And you got others that want to take more of an investor role and just work on the business, but that's your choice.
So I'm glad our coffee and conversation fell on a Thursday. So
I
we could
know,
have
right?
That's right. Yeah, we'd have done it either way. Goj and I hit it off immediately. But this is it. But I'm talking to business owners. Like, how cool is this? I have the best life. So,
Right.
Awesome. What other questions do we have?
Yes, there is another question. Would you please?
Would you please offer some insights on marketing costs as a percentage of revenue, especially related to the different stages of revenue?
yeah, this is a great question. And boy, there's as many answers as possible. So here's the general rule of thumb. You want the normal quote average is between 4 and 6%. If you're in scale mode, it could rise as high as 10. However, and this is assuming you do not have an in-house marketing, by the way. I'll get to that in a second. And 10% needs to be one of those guardrails. If it gets above 10, you better be growing so darn fast that next year it's not 10, right? Because this is one that can easily get out of hand. But if someone's wanting to scale fast, you know, a lot of times you'll see them get up to 10% of revenue on marketing. But then you got to be able to deliver, and next year's revenue better be really high, right? It better grow probably more than 30%. But rule of thumb is 4 to 6. And then use the Jim Collins method here, right? As far as when you're setting a budget, is you got to do you got to fund it well enough, your marketing, to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. So in our case, we've had a lot of time periods where we had a wait list of clients. So guess what my marketing expense needs to be? If I have a wait list, you know, that was over a year long, my marketing in that case should be 0, right? And it was, except for, you know, I'll do speaking things and webcasts, of course, which there's time, right? There's opportunity cost, but not dollar cost. So that's one. On the other hand, if revenue is your issue, you know, you might have to do that 6 to 10%, right? If that's your thing you're trying to solve for. But good question. Rule of thumb, 4 to 6, but 10 is kind of a high water mark. And I see a lot of, you know, marketing driven companies that are highly successful, scaling very quickly, that keep it pegged at 10%, and they're making sure they're getting their best yield on that 10%. All right, very common. Is anybody here at 10%? No one. Okay. And then is so 4 to, you're probably in that 4 to 6 range.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
We are
Good
growing.
question. That's an important question. And to that point, I am a firm believer that here in the US of A privately held business should be able to grow on average at least 10% a year minimum. And then you get, as the business owner, the cool thing is you get to decide what you want that growth rate to be. But my recommendation to clients is that should be a minimum of 10. Yeah, whether you choose to grow at 15 or 25, that's a cool choice to have in front of you.
Okay. What other questions do we have? And just remember, no question is a silly question. Ask for
Kevin, should we talk about the tax fund, the tax thing that
Absolutely.
I was so intrigued by when we were at the event? Yep.
Yep, my pleasure. Yep. So and this is always fun. Now you notice that we chose to talk about making the money first, right? So we've got just briefcases full of cool tax ideas. And that's all good, but they're all completely worthless and irrelevant if you're not making money, right? You don't need tax planning if you're not making money, right? And so I was speaking at an event here recently, and a lady come up and she's just asking about these tax things, and it turns out she wasn't making any money. I go, you know, until I hear how you're going to make your $1 million a year, I'm not going to tell you any tax stuff. And by the way, one other thing to let your brain work on. I am a firm believer that if you are going to go through the effort and the risk and the early stage stress of running a business, which we all here chose to do, and I wouldn't have it any other way. In my personal opinion, very biased opinion, your goal should be make at least $1 million a year. If you're going to put in the work, make $1 million freaking dollars, right? And the cool thing is it's very, very doable. And if you hit 5 million in your business, in a service business, and you're dropping 20% to the bottom line, guess what? You're making $1 million. Okay, so we're making our $1 million. One thing to be clear on is once you're making, you know, I'd say about 80 grand and above, make sure you're operating as an S corporation for tax purposes. And when you first start out, who here is just is an LLC tax, you know, and then Probably a lot of you are. And then an LLC can elect to be taxed as an S corp. So you can be an S corp if you're an Inc. or an LLC. And so S corp's the first thing to do, and then you got to pay yourself a reasonable wage, and you should have profit left over to take as S distributions, which are another name for dividends. And the reason you want to be an S corp is there's a few reasons. You don't have to pay Social Security tax on that K1 profit. You don't have to pay Medicare tax on that. You don't have to pay Obamacare tax. And that profit, that K1 profit, is eligible for something called Section 199A, which is a 20% exclusion. So you can see when you add all that up, you save a ton of money by being an S corp. And by the way, you didn't have to go buy a heavy truck to get those tax savings, right? It's just you're getting income very tax efficiently. So who here is an S corp?
Most of us looks like.
Yep, perfect. Okay, so preaching to the choir. All right, another question is, okay, what's the reasonable wage? Well, if your profit to the bottom line is less than 100 grand, you can probably do a wage of 50 to 60K, right? If you're that operating income we were talking about before you're paid. But once you're making, about 200 and above operating income before the owner gets any benefit, then you probably need to take that wage to 100 grand. And that's kind of what the IRS auditors are looking at now. If you're getting paid 100 grand, you'll win your IRS audit. I've had mine at 100 grand for a while. I'm at 120 now, just with what I'm doing at retirement. And fortunately, I'm scaled, well beyond the $1 million income mark, and the rest is S distributions, right? So I have my wage of 120. Everything goes to 401k and taxes, and the Bassett family lives on S distributions. So it's good stuff. So do that. And the key is, though, you want that leftover profit, the S corp profit, because that is absolutely the most tax efficient money you can get. All right. The next step is a concept called pre-taxing your lifestyle. And this is one of my favorite things. And the cool thing is, by living in a developed country like the US, there are certain expenses that probably all of us have and have already been paying even before we were business owners. But now that we are business owners, they are now deductible. So examples are automobile, right? Who has their car in their business? Anybody? Yep. And the cool thing is, and did you have a car before you were a business owner? Right? Probably. But now it's deductible, right? You're now pre-taxing part of your lifestyle. So the rule for having a car in a business is it's got to be at least 50% business use. And so as long as you're doing, and commuting miles do not count against you when it's owned by the business. So that's the rule. And then you can have all your actual expenses in there, depreciate the car, pay for the gas, repairs, etc. Other easy ones are cell phone and home internet. Should all be paid from the business, right? So that's no issue now. And then you also want to deduct home office expenses. So the IRS now has created something back in, I think, 2013, where home office is now what's called a safe harbor deduction. They're giving everybody a free $1,500 that you can deduct by working from home. This is standard now, and they cannot and will not audit it. So you guys, anybody remember the old days where the home office deduction was an audit issue? Remember that? And it was kind of scary, some of the stuff we were hearing. So because of that, they created this revenue procedure in 2013 to eliminate all the uncertainty. So recommend that. So it's free $1,500 that basically the corporation can pay you tax-free for use of your home. And in addition to that, you can still deduct other expenses at home, like that internet, the desk, the office supplies, all that stuff. So any questions on that? All right.
I have a question on deductibles. Many of us here do cleaning for a reason, or free cleans for clients that we don't generate the revenue, but we spend the labor power,
Right.
which is our #1 expense in this industry.
Yep.
Is there a deduction for the total amount that we provide in terms of the service?
Oh, the fair market value. So the answer
Correct.
is actually no. You don't get any deduction for services provided. You can deduct the labor that you paid for the labor and the supplies. So you get to deduct that just as any expense, but you don't get to deduct the fair market value of the service, even if it was the charity. There's one minor exception. If you donated inventory to charity, then which you may or may not have, then you could deduct the fair market value of that inventory if it's to a qualified 501c3. But if it's you're doing demos for customers or potential customers, there's no deduction for the service, just deduction for what you actually spent. So,
Okay.
All right.
There's a couple of questions here. What if you use your home and still have a virtual address? Can you deduct for both?
you can, yeah. So the home office I was talking about is any type of work from home. You do not have to have that is your primary address. So that's just that safe harbor thing is just for the fact that anybody, I'm sitting in my office in Raleigh, but I still get my home office deduction for the fact that I do work at home, right? That's a $1,500, and I get to deduct all the expenses with this building here that I'm in.
And is that-
and if you're
Is that
hybrid, can
1,500 a
still-
month or
what's that?
is that
No, it's
15?
$1,500 a year plus other expenses, internet and all those things. So total expenses are probably $5,000.
Okay. Another question is, what if we are hybrid? Can we still deduct home office?
And the answer is absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. All right. No, this is a fun old one here. Someone must have been in business in the old days. Is it true to claim a home office you have to have a separate entrance to the office, not just main house entrance? The answer is absolutely not. Those rules are long gone a long time ago. Good question though. Yeah, because there's still some myths out there. I'll still speak at seminars, and even though these safe harbor rules have now been in place 11 years, I still get hands like, who heard here that if you do the home office, you're automatically going to do audited, and then some hands will go up, right? Because that's how bad. There was this one court case in the 90s that really scared the heck out of everybody. So much that Congress rewrote the code and IRS put out guidance to clarify it.
Can you pay for your personal cell phone through your bank?
Yeah, I'm not sure what we mean by bank, but if you mean business, it might be what you meant. Personal cell phone absolutely can be paid from the business as long as you're using it some for business use. Yep, absolutely. And what's really funny, when cell phones first came out, before I even got one, they used to make you provide the bill and prove. Yeah, you guys remember the old days when the cell phone bills actually had all your calls listed? And you used to have to provide that in an audit for the first few years, and then that quickly went away because cell phones picked up so quickly. They don't even blink now. Like, it is just completely standard now to deduct that. So
as laws have changed, Kevin, what are some of the other things that we're not even thinking about that are deductible?
Yeah. So when clients come on, we have a owner's benefits worksheet that we go through. So the big thing is first catch all your benefits, right? Make sure you're doing your health insurance. If you got workers' comp, anything going on for the owners, make sure you deduct it, even if it is a personal policy, right? Even if you don't have group insurance at your business, you as the owner can still deduct your own policy as long as your S Corp pays for or reimburses your premiums, right? So you want to make sure you do that. And so that's your insurances. The other is make sure these lifestyle expenses, your car, your home office, meals, travel, all that stuff's in there. Someone just posted a question. What about social clubs like pickleball, which is all the rage now, country clubs and tennis? So that's a good question. So you are allowed to pay for what's called club dues. That's a category called club dues through your business. Gym memberships are also part of that category. However, they are actually not deductible. So you're allowed to pay for them through the business, right? So you don't have to take a paycheck, pay taxes and do it, but you just can't take a deduction. So it's absolutely okay to pay for it. Your CPA will have to add it back on the tax return.
What if you give those memberships to your employees? Will that be deductible then?
It'll be deductible as long as you tax the employees on the benefit, right? On their
You
W-2.
have to tax the employee on that.
Yep,
Okay.
that's right. Yep, that's health and wellness. There are some exceptions for health related. So you could look into those. It's a deeper question. So maybe if you're doing that with yours, we could go over that on one of your CFO meetings. So there's some health and wellness things that will be deductible for your employees and not be taxed to them, right? So, but if you give them a country club membership, that's taxable. So.
You were talking at the event when we met about meals. for your employees, when it's deducted, when it's not deducted, breakfast, dinners, lunches. There are sometimes they are fully deductible, sometimes are not. Can you
Yeah,
explain
absolutely. I can actually go over that. Am I allowed to share the screen? Do we have screen sharing on this?
Sharon?
This is always a fun, I call this the fun stuff.
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, I just added you as a co-host, so you should be able to share.
All right, everybody cool, looking at some slides. This is where it gets fun. Okay, so there's been some rule changes, so it's kind of cool we're doing this talk now, particularly if you haven't filed your 2023 return yet. So as Gosha was talking about, there are certain meals that are 50% deductible, and these are rules that have been around a long time that temporarily went away during COVID. So during COVID in 2021 and 22, Congress, you know, when they passed this law in 2020 when the world shut down, and they were worried about all the restaurants going out of business, and some did, and some pivoted to takeout, and everything was okay. And so they said, okay, all meals are 100% deductible for 2 years so that our restaurants make it. Well, now the old 50% rules are back, effective in 23. So there's some meals that are 50% and some are 100%. I'm going to show you the difference. Another thing to know is that entertainment, like those club dues and sports tickets, concert tickets, and even a round of golf, that is not deductible at all, right? 0%. And that's from 2018 onward. However, if you take the whole team, which I'll show you, that same thing could be considered a corporate function and be 100% deductible. And if you do a sponsorship at one of those events, that can be 100%. So I'll go through the differences. So meals that are 100% deductible is if you take the whole company on a company picnic or feed the whole team, that's 100% deductible. If you bring in office snacks like this coffee here in our office, 100% deductible. And Carol, my assistant, she loads us up with snacks every few weeks, and that's 100% deductible. Also, if you have your whole team working, like at a CPA firm, and we bring in meals, which we do on Wednesdays, and feed everybody, that's 100% deductible. But if I took Carol out to lunch today, just the two of us, that's going to be 50%. But if you do the whole team, 100%. Also, if you're doing some sort of an event where you're feeding everybody for a marketing thing, that's 100%. So does that all make sense? Okay. Now the default though, usually if meals don't fall into one of those other categories, they're 50% deductible if they're business related. So just do a business meeting, or just the owners go out to eat, or you just go out to eat with a customer or vendor, or just, you know, one or two of your employees, or maybe just your leadership team. Or even if you go to a seminar and it's just you and maybe one other person, the meals while you're on business travel are also just 50%. Does that make sense? Okay. But if you can get it to a corporate event, right? If I feed the whole team, or I take the whole team to go ride go-karts, or to a sporting event, or a golf event, those can be 100% deductible. I don't play golf, but I got folks that do, and they got smart. If you do a round of golf, it's not deductible because it's entertainment. But if you sponsor a golf tournament, 100% deductible as a sponsorship. So any questions on that? Okay. All right. And then one other thing, I won't go into deeply, but if you have scaled to the point that you have a formal board, those can also be deductible, and so get with your CPA on that. So, all right, any questions on the meals and all that? Okay.
Kevin, what if you sponsor a golf tournament like we did this week, and then one of your attendees that participated wins a hole-in-one and then they win a car?
Oh yeah, so they're going to get taxed. Yep. Yep. Good for them.
Well,
But your
that might be a good
sponsorship's still
problem to
deductible.
have.
Yeah. Good for them. That's great. I have never experienced that. I gave up golf in my 30s. I was so bad. So
I haven't started, so that's good.
Save the
A couple
hassle.
questions here. are you deducting 100% of your personal car expense?
Sort
Mileage,
of. Great question. So I'm paying for everything from the company, and then at year end, you have to disclose on your tax return, and make sure you guys are doing this. CPAs miss it all the time. You have to say, hey, this percent was business, this was personal. And I do a little W-2 adjustment for a little bit of personal on my W-2 every year, you know, because I'm like 90-something% business. And as long as you do that, in an audit, as long as you provide a mileage log and show that you're backing out a little bit of personal, the IRS will leave you alone 99% of the time. One thing to be, you know, since we're talking about IRS here real quick, there's two things you need to know to prepare for an IRS audit. Three things really. One, keep good books. Make sure you have a competent bookkeeper, whether it's in-house or a CPA doing your books. And I say that because in the world of QuickBooks, I have seen a dangerous trend where folks are putting people in charge of QuickBooks that have never sat down in a single accounting class. Not only do they not have an accounting degree, they haven't done any accounting training, but because QuickBooks is so easy to move around, they get somebody that is completely, totally, and unquestionably incompetent maintaining their books and thinking that's going to be okay for an IRS audit. And I'll give you three guesses how that usually turns out. So that's number one. Number two, you absolutely positively have to provide receipts for everything you take a deduction for. And what a lot of folks don't realize is your credit card statement does not qualify as a receipt. You actually have to have a copy of the actual receipt, and it can be a digital copy. So even though you may have your corporate Amex statement that says Texaco, you know, gas, you know, obviously for gas, they want that stupid little slip of paper that comes out of the pump from Texaco. It's a terrible, terrible, horrible, impractical rule created in the 1970s, but it is the rule. And even I, you know, am going to get some of that added back. There's been every year a handful of times I'm at the pump, it doesn't print out. So whatever, I'm not going in. And then the other thing is, if you're taking any sort of vehicle expenses on your, deducting it on your tax return, as you should, you will absolutely have to produce a mileage log in an audit. Now, there's a small percentage of my clients that maintain a diligent mileage log, and some that use their phone, and they use MileBug or MileIQ are the two best apps. They're awesome. I tried, I flunked out after like 3 days because I would never turn it on. And then there's the other 90% that don't do that. But I can tell you that I've now done over 1,300 tax audits in my career. We win almost all of them, and all of those audits, except one crotchety client, we produced a mileage log. And I had one guy that refused to do so, and I still don't understand why. And so he got his disallowed. But everyone else, we get the mileage log in there, and just be prepared to do that.
So Kevin, this is a good question. If you donate inventory to a charitable organization, it's deductible. But what if you donate directly to civilians impacted by disasters such as hurricanes or flood?
Okay, so we're talking about two related rules here, slightly different. Okay, so the rule of inventory to charity, the cool thing with that is you get to deduct the fair market value. So if your inventory, give me an example piece of inventory, just something you might donate.
Soap.
Go ahead.
Soap.
So, okay, cool. And then, and so it comes in a box or a case or whatever. And tell me what your cost of that might be. Just
$55.
You said 35?
55.
55. Okay. And what would, and if I went out to buy that at the store, what would it cost me? I'm not in the industry. I don't have a vendor discount.
Some of these things you can't buy
yeah, okay, just for them.
On a retail market.
Well, let's say maybe $100, like just picking a number.
Okay, sure.
Say double. So if you do a job for free, right, you're deducting the $55 plus labor. If you don't, but if you donate it to charity, you get to take the fair market value. Your deductions the $100 or whatever you determine retail would actually be, right? If you weren't in the business getting that discount. if you donate it to somebody impacted by a natural disaster, they are not a qualified 501c3, but I would still deduct it. Just buy it in cost of goods sold. We deduct it in cost of goods sold at the $55. So that's the distinction. But to charity, what you would do is you'd find out the retail value somewhere, and deduct the $100 or whatever that number is instead of the 55.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, this is gonna be the last question because we are over time. This is wonderful, thank you.
My
How
pleasure.
deductible are dues subscriptions to business networking like a BNI, Business Association, Chamber of
Yep.
Commerce, et
Yeah.
cetera?
So I guess the answer is they're very deductible. They're 100% deductible. The question might be, okay, where do we put it? Certain things we'll put in dues and subscription. There's a line called that, and that's fine. BNI, I used to put in marketing expense back when I did it in the old days. So you could put it in either category, and absolutely deductible, no question. Totally.
Okay,
Yep.
well, thank you, Kevin. We are over our time. This has been very, very engaging. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I don't think you can share everything that goes on in the tax world in 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
But this has been very powerful. Thank you.
Yeah,
Well,
my
and I
pleasure.
I think Kevin said he could stay in the break room. If there's anybody that's interested in asking some additional questions, we could absolutely do a breakout room with Kevin. The other thing I wanted to note that we are, like RJ said, we're close to the bottom or the end of our time. But I wanted to mention the show. I didn't mention that at the beginning. We were listing a bunch of our events, and I know many of you have attended the ISSA show in the past. The ISSA show is November 18th to the 21st this year in Las Vegas. And right now it is open for pre-sale. It's members only. And so that is it ends tomorrow. I have the link here. I'll put the link here in the chat. But if you are thinking of going to the show, this is your chance to buy as a member the lowest price ticket you can get. Hotel is already open for any and everybody to register for hotel. So again, if you're going to the show, I would get your hotel rooms in. So just one note on that. And I know I see Beth Derrickson is on here. Our committee put together a really great schedule this year. I don't know, Beth, if you have any thoughts on, what we've put together.
It's the best ever. No, all kidding aside, we listened to a lot of individuals' feedback to get different speakers. These coffee and conversations have been great because we can hear what are hot topics to all of us and what we want to learn more about. And with that information, we've captured some really good content and have some really good speakers coming. So if you haven't been to a show or you haven't been in a while, I definitely highly recommend putting the money out and investing in yourself and your business to educate and learn more from everybody that's going to be there.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate the council and everybody participating and supporting, and to the staff, Stacy, Heather, Aaron, thank you so much. Our next coffee and conversation is actually falls on July 4th. So happy 4th to everybody. We're not going to be meeting that day. We're going to skip a week and go to July 11th. Okay, so just make that adjustment on your calendar. Kevin, we thank you so much. This is an amazing, amazing industry. We have amazing people in this industry. You see a bunch of them here. Thank you so much for your time and expertise in this subject matter.
Yeah, my pleasure. And yes, it is an amazing industry with amazing people. If you guys ever need me back with updates, let me know. I'm around. So
If you
take care.
wouldn't mind perhaps putting a link to your to how to connect with you in that chat, that would be amazing.
Cool. I will see what I can do. I can put a UR code in. Let's see if it works.
Perhaps to your
Yeah, this
firm?
gets on our email
There you
sign
go.
up list, and then what this will do is we don't sell your email or any information or take kickbacks for anything, but you'll get on our client alerts and our webinar series. We do a bunch of free ones during the year, and let you know about any other events we're doing. But yeah, we just love to educate business owners and grow the heck out of the business community, and we love it.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Let's
All right.
hop into breakout rooms, right?
I am going to open the breakout room now. So Kevin,
recap. Who are the?
Uh,
both of the
We're just
breakout
gonna
rooms?
do Kevin for today, I think. So we just have Kevin to talk about finances, like in knowing your numbers.
Yeah, great.
Aaron,
Are you
one
putting me
more
there?
question.
Sure.
How can Jimmy get the recording for today?
I will get that into our YouTube playlist. I put that YouTube playlist in the chat a while back. I added a link to our website on our Coffee and Conversation page, but we're going to add it to that playlist it's on the ISSA Media YouTube page. And we have a residential playlist and we've added the Coffee and Conversations to it.
All right, thank you.